everyone, my name is Sally and I'm a music leader for the Urban Vocal Group. I'm also a singing and voice teacher and I specialise in contemporary and commercial technique and vocal health. Today I want to carry on with our videos that we've been posting each week about vocal health or about exercises or ways that you can actually help to improve your voice. Today is all about the bottle and straw exercise. Now, for those of you not familiar with the bottle and straw exercise, it's one of my most favourite exercises and I use it for 3 different reasons. So the first one is it could be for a really gentle warm-up. So you know, on those days when your voice is not doing much and it's not really kind of waking up properly, you can use the bottle and straw to help ease your voice into working properly. The second reason is I also like to use it for a technical reason. So basically, if you are struggling with your high notes or you're struggling with a lot of force and a lot of pressure, I like to use this exercise to help to balance it and help to kind of get your voice kind of back in balance, really, okay? The third way that I like to use this, and this is actually the reason why it was originally created, is actually for helping your voice recover, okay? So when you're poorly and your voice is kind of getting sore throat, so if you've got a cold, when you're not feeling great, when you've oversung and your voice is tired, you know, those are great times to actually use this exercise because that's what we originally started using them for. So speech therapists have been using straw work for a long time now. So this is kind of a catch-all exercise. You can do it for everything, you know. I like to use it just even if I'm struggling and I can't hit that high note today, you know, or if my voice is feeling really tired. So we need a little straw. So this is just a normal party size straw. This one's a metal straw because I go through a lot of straws, if you can imagine. This is my day job, the amount of straws that I use. And just a bottle of water filled about 3/4 to halfway, and we're just going to start with getting you used to blowing through the straw. Now, we need to make sure that you're not blowing through your nose and you're not blowing through the sides of your lips. Everything needs to come through the end of the straw. So you're going to blow through and you can just start this way. Now we're just going to start, and you're just going to blow through the straw and get used to that feeling. Set nothing out through your nose or through the side of your lips, and you're not trying to squeeze or force that through. It's just simple. It's just, okay, that's the first step. We get used to that feeling, and it's trying to make sure that we're not just going and trying to push too hard. Okay, so we only do that a couple of times just to get you familiar. Then we're going to start to move into the water. Now, depending on how far down the water that you put this, there's going to be different pressures. So if you find when you can't get any sound or any breath out, maybe try lifting up to the top of the water and then start working back down again, because the further it is into the water, there's more pressure, so you might struggle a bit more in the beginning. So I'm just going to put this in there and excuse me, this is going to start to move everything around in your throat and in your mouth, and so you might start to need to cough after you do this. So if you do feel cough because you need to clear, not cough because it's drying. So if you feel like a little bit gunky after it's starting to do its job, it's starting to move all the nastiness off of your vocal folds. So what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to start just by blowing through the straw into the water. So kind of like blowing bubbles in your milk, you know, when I'm sure a lot of people get told off for that, or have been told off for that in the past. So what you're going to do is you're going to start just simple bubbles, and you're not going to work too hard. You're just going to blow through into the bottle. And can you see, we start to get a little bit of movement within the water, and this is why I really like this exercise, is because you can actually see the effort that you're putting into your voice work. So how much effort you're singing with or how much effort you're blowing with will tell you how much you kind of get that visual there straight away. And what I want you to remember is that pressure is actually what you're taking on your voice when you're singing. So if you think about your vocal folds being only the size of your little fingernail, so just the tiniest little size of vocal folds in your throat, and all that force and all that pressure is going across them. So this is why this exercise is so important, because you can start to get an awareness of how much pressure you're putting in. Okay, so we're going to start with this, and we're going to just blow through the straw again, just silently. So we're not going to put any pitch on it yet. And I just want you to play around with that, making sure it's not coming out of the nose, not out of the mouth, because we want everything just to come through that straw. Okay. So. And now, what I want you to try to do is I want you to try and put in a pitch. So this is a comfortable pitch round about your speech level. So your speech level is obviously where you're speaking. So it needs to be something comfortable. So we're going to start here round about. So I'm going to start here. And that feels quite comfortable for me. So I'm just going to play around with just getting that pitch and keeping that bubble in the water. And each time I want you to see whether you can pull back a little bit on effort. So I don't want you to force everything out when you're doing this. So we're going to start with just gentle sounds. And keep thinking, right, how much effort do I need for that sound? Can I do it a little bit less, but still keep that same sound? Because we work so hard within singing. We always think that it needs to be much more than what we actually need. So I want you to make sure that you're not forcing things, you're not working too hard, okay? So, and I want you to just get familiar with that. Now, if you're finding that you're going, and it's working, you're working too hard, come back out of the water just to the top, or even just slightly out of the water, and just, and make sure that happens. If you're struggling with that, then you probably do need to get in contact and we'll have a little chat through about why that's happening for you. But you need to start thinking about relaxing and calming down. So can you see the difference in the pressure that I need for there? Here's really tiny compared to here. I need to put a little bit more effort in. Now you will find which way you like it, you know, if you like a little bit more pressure there, because what this is doing is going back into your throat and opening up all the space. Now, just a little bit about how you sing. When you sing, the air comes up from the lungs, it goes past the vocal folds vibrate, you bring them together and a pitch is created. So when that pitch is created here, the air then comes out of the mouth, but we need a tiny, tiny bit of air to go back and tuck back down to the vocal folds and make them shut again. So basically they vibrate as the air comes through and then we need a little bit to close them back up again. So this exercise is great at getting that balance within your throat so you can actually start to close your vocal folds properly. So that's kind of the science behind it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to always be gentle. We're not forcing this. And you, I kind of say to people, you know, when you have, like if you do it in a glass, some people like prefer to do this in the glass as well. When they're going too hard or too fast, you kind of get splattered in the face. And I kind of say that's almost like your water going, no, too much. Okay, so that's what I want you to think of. Is if you're getting splattered in the face, that is its way of saying, right, no, you're working too hard. You don't need to do that. The reason why I really like these exercises is because you can use them in so many different ways and they're so versatile. So that is just the first introduction. Now I'm going to go through them as if it's a warm-up, and this is my first warm-up of the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from B, and I'm just going to go. I'm going to think, right, can I do that with a little bit less effort? I don't need to force that sound out. It's a warm-up. It doesn't need much. So I'm just kind of working through that way. Sorry, my hand's in the weird position. Shouldn't have used that hand to hold up. So I'm going to start with this. Now I'm going to do a fifth. So that was a third that I started with. And I'm going to stretch out that exercise now. So let me just start from the top so you can follow me. So if you've got your bottom straw there. So we're going to go for... back down. Now, you can also start to focus on how much pressure it is. So I was kind of focusing on the keys there, I'm not going to lie. If I'm going... I'm starting to try and think, don't force, don't work too hard. I'm trying to balance that pressure. Okay, so that was the third, and I'm going to go to the fifth. And then I start to work through like that. Now, obviously, you don't need to have a keyboard in front of you to be able to do that. You can just work through your range, just doing slides and glides and work through that way. So that's how I like to use it as warm-up. The second way that I said was I like to use it for helping when things are difficult in your upper register, or if you're working with belters that are really, really powerful and they have too much force. Now, when I am working with someone who's struggling with their upper range, so with their head voice, I will get them to use the bottom straw to sing the lines that they're doing. So if they're doing something, so if we go for, Yeah, I'll go for Skinny Love by Birdie. So you got Come On Skinny Love. Now, I'm not quite warmed up this morning, so I'm going to go through the straw just so I can start to balance that pressure. So I'm going to go... And I'm starting to think, right, I don't need to work that hard. When I first start making a sound, there's something in me that goes, right, I need to put the effort in because it's harder. So what we need to be very, very careful of is that you're not overcompensating when you're trying to do these exercises, because this is the exact reason why they exist for, is to stop that pressure. Okay, so we're gonna go, so I'm gonna show that again. Come on, skinny, and it makes it a little bit easier to get that sound out. Now, I see some great results in this when I have people who like, they just can't get the sound out. They do it with the bottom straw first. They work along the pitch. They work in the actual key. They work along with the singer sometimes, you know, just so they've got something in their head to work with. So that's what you can do, is you can go along for all the songs that you're struggling to sing really, really high with, and just try and sing along the melody, just and just work through that way, okay? So that is how I use it for helping with high singing. The last way, which is the way I said originally that it was created for, is for recovery work. So for people who have got tired voices, people who've got injuries, people who've hurt themselves. Obviously, if you know that you've got an injury and you're working under a doctor, you need to be going with the advice that they're giving you. This is generalised advice for people who haven't been diagnosed with any conditions, or who have just got tired voices from over singing, you know. So this is more to do with just general people rather than as a fix for someone who's got an injury. You need to have more specialist care, so please be careful with that. Now, if I've given you this exercise in the past, because it's perfectly safe to do if your voice is healthy and you're just tired, you know, and if you've got a cold. If I've given you this exercise because you have had an injury and a doctor has, excuse me, gets everything moving, and a doctor has referred you on to me and we've been working together to rebuild your singing voice, then you already know what exercises I've given you to do that, because there are certain ones which you would and wouldn't do with this, okay? Please make sure that you are using a party size straw and not the smaller straws in water, because they can cause some issues. So so this is just generalized vocal health support, okay, rather than if you do think you've got any problems. If you do think you've got some problems, please get in contact with your doctor. So I'm going to start just from B, because this is a good key for both male and female singers. If you are if your voice has changed, so if you've kind of gone through and your voice is broken and you're a guy, I want you to start obviously down here. I'm going to be up here because I can't sing down there. So I'm just going to go through those thirds again. And depending on how my voice is feeling, that may be too fast. So if your voice is really tired, you can take it really slow. And that's really the speed that I would like you to do it at. So I'm going to go really gentle. And sometimes you might find they're the only notes you can actually get out. Anything more, if you start to strain or push, then don't push that if you're trying to recover your voice and trying to bring it back to where it should be. So we're going to be... And just keep thinking gently. You might even want to go a bit lower. But it's all calm, it's all really, really gentle. You may move on to the fifths. The fifths might be too much, but I want you to work around where is comfortable and try not to work too hard with this. So those are my three main ways that I like to use the bottom straw to really, really help you get the most out of your voice. This is really should be something you should be doing daily. You know, you can add this to your voice routine, your singing routine, whatever you're doing. If you just have a bottle with a straw, just like wherever you go to practice, this is going to be fantastic for you to start to build your voice really well. You're going to get like this, I'm not going to lie. It moves everything around. So after that, if that goes on for too long though, that's something else, you know, we need to look at that. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that exercise. It really is valuable. You know, I don't know where I'd be without it. You know, there's a lot of people that I have, I work with a lot of professional musicians who have come to me with no voices and they have to gig by the end of the week. And we get straight on the bottom of the straw, we do some other work, and literally their voices are recovered by the end of the day. I know people who have been working big shows, you know, who've had big shows and they've been doing like regular night's work each day, and what we need to do is we need to make sure that they're keeping their voice through these performances, and sometimes in the intervals they'll be going back and they'll be doing the bottle and straw just to try and rebalance their voice and get them ready so they can actually continue for the second half of the shows. So it is great, it's fantastic. So if you've not come across this before, please try it out, because like I said, it's one of my favourites. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know if you've got any questions. I hope you have a good week, and I will see you next week.